it could have been White Steffi. We could be Wile E. Coyote right now. I hate to be political, but relief! Coyote versus Acme!
And, now that that's over, and by that I mean my career...
That was Eric Bowser at the 2024 Annie Awards. Voice actor for numerous Looney Tunes characters since 2018, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Tweety, and Marvin the Martian. Somebody thoroughly familiar with the characters and world of Looney Tunes, Eric has been vocal in his support for the release of Coyote vs. Acme, stating on his X account that he was thankful for the creative efforts behind the film, and that by releasing Coyote vs. Acme, it continues the process of preserving an enduring legacy for iconic cartoon characters, and the storytelling efforts that keeps the characters relevant across multiple generations. Eric Bowser is a man with clout within the world of Looney Tunes, and yet the subject of Coyote vs. Acme has become a source of frustration amongst fans, industry creatives, and even the stars of the film itself, desperate for the film to see the light of day. Following positive test screenings, growing online anticipation, and then the tragic reveal of the film's shelving, failure to sell, and the threat of deletion, it's important to discuss what the hell happened to Coyote vs. Acme. A mixture of live action and animation, co-produced by James Gunn, and starring Will Forte, John Cena, Lara Condor, and of course the voice of Eric Bowser. Coyote vs. Acme focused on Wile E. Coyote's suing of the company Acme, taking legal action due to the failure of their products and capturing the Roadrunner, a meta play on the classic Coyote and Roadrunner storylines, where Wile E. Coyote attempts to capture his desired prey with increasingly convoluted plans and gadgets, always outsmarted by his opponent, resulting in his comedic failure. During the contentious initial shelving of the film, an alleged leak of Coyote vs. Acme's storyline appeared anonymously via Pastebin. The outline suggests that Coyote vs. Acme is stylistically similar to the classic animated live-action sleuthing comedy Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Coyote vs. Acme focused on a struggling law firm called Avery, Jones and Maltese, and their legal defense of Wile E. Coyote during his lawsuit against Acme, with Will Forte playing the down-on-his-luck lawyer, Kevin Avery, supported by his niece, Paige, Avery gradually befriending his client, Wile E. Coyote, as they uncover Acme's Project Sisyphus, a scheme that intends to sell faulty products to cartoon characters so the corporation can better understand cartoon physics, animated suffering, and the limitations of their products to further benefit their sales towards humans. While a leak like this could be false, many have come to believe the leak to be legitimate due to how it aligns with what little we know of the film officially. Will Forte does indeed play a lawyer. Lana Condor plays his niece Paige. The film does embrace both live-action footage and two-dimensional animation. It's maybe not much to go on, but this leak offered online fans motivation to push back against the shelving of the film, building waves of anticipation. With a promising concept, a story that encourages both Coyote and Kevin Avery to never give up on their aspirations, whether it be winning a case or catching the Roadrunner, it's understandably disappointing that, for all we currently know, completely given up on, this film may never be released. The disappointment of the film's initial shelving stretched across potential audiences, as well as industry professionals from Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and even Coyote vs. Acme's own Oscar-winning composer Stephen Price. Will Forte himself took to his X account, formerly known as Twitter, to voice his frustrations towards the film's shelving, and his support of the cast and crew who worked hard on the production. Will Forte wrote that, "To the cast and crew of Coyote vs. Acme, I know that a lot of you haven't gotten a chance to see our movie, and sadly, it's looking like you never will. When I first heard that our movie was getting deleted, I hadn't seen it yet, so I was thinking what everyone else must have been thinking. This thing must be a hunk of junk. But then I saw it, and it's incredible. Super funny throughout, visually stunning, sweet, sincere, and emotionally resonant in a very earned way. As the credits rolled, I just sat there thinking how lucky I was to be part of something so special. That quickly turned to confusion and frustration. This was the movie they're not going to release? Look, when it comes to Hollywood's business stuff, I don't know shit about shit. Even when a movie tests very well, like ours, there's no guarantee that it's gonna be a hit. And at the end of the day, the people who paid for this movie can obviously do whatever they want with it. It doesn't mean I have to like it, I fucking hate it, or agree with it. And it doesn't mean that this movie is anything less than magnificent. You would be so proud of it. A movie that should be seen but won't. Please know that all the years and years of hard work, dedication and love that you put into this movie shows in every frame. That's all, folks. From Will Forte's statement, we get a strong sense of passion behind this project. How or why would a film be deleted if it's endearing, funny, sincere and heartfelt? With clear praise for the film within the industry and hugely positive test screening scores, it sounded like the quality of the film was to a high standard. When considering the large budget of the film, $70 million, and the dedicated creative talent in front of the camera and behind it, it becomes even more frustrating to consider what may be lost here. Even if Coyote vs. Acme was hypothetically a bad film, the creation of a film continues to require devoted, committed collaboration across numerous roles and departments. Animators, production designers, sound mixers and recordists, visual effects artists, background actors, script editors, colorists, musicians, editors. Additionally, for such a highly anticipated, above mid-budget film, this would have been a first-time industry job or first-time promotion for some employees. Runners, script supervisors, department and personal assistants. Even if Coyote vs. Acme was a bad film, to shelve or delete the film is to completely erase and undermine the efforts on display from a wide-ranging crew of filmmaking collaborators. This is why Will Forte's statement places such great emphasis on the efforts that went into the film. To receive some appreciation is to illustrate that these filmmaking efforts weren't for naught. There was a brief period of optimism after Coyote vs. Acme's initial shelving due to the huge backlash online to protect the film, to finally release it. Part of the online efforts included a change.org petition with over 22,000 signatures, as well as the previously mentioned storyline leak on Pastebin. If the leak is legitimate, then the act of leaking serves as a form of protest against the decision to shelve the film, and if the leak were fake, then it still had a positive influence in continuing to bolster hopes of the film being released someday, uniting an audience hungry for this film. During this time, Warner Bros. Were aiming to sell the film elsewhere, but offers from Amazon, Netflix and Paramount were rejected. In his article for NPR, Joe Hernandez discusses with Stephen Glaser why offers from streaming services may be rejected in this context. The decision led many to wonder why the studio would retreat from a film that it had already sunk an estimated $70 million into. Hollywood financial experts say that when studios scrap finished projects, the decision usually comes down to money. Stephen Glaser, an accounting professor at UNC's Keenan Flagler Business School, says film studios may predict that a movie won't perform well and cut their losses, rather than sell it for a low price or spend any more money to market it. It could be that they are getting offers to distribute it, but they would be expected to market it and do some other things, and that would be extremely costly. It could be that streaming services are saying, well, you wouldn't have to market it, we'll buy it from you, but they're not offering much. To put it simply, if Warner Bros. Isn't being offered the sum of money they're seeking, if they're given conditional offers that would require further marketing on their part, all for a film that they may consider a potential flop, then Warner Bros. May be rejecting the offers presented on these terms. It's difficult not to get a sense of unwillingness here upon learning of the lack of progress in selling the film elsewhere. The shelving and possible deletion of Coyote vs. Acme follows in the footsteps of other productions from Warner Bros. Which have faced the same fate, most recognisably Bilal Fallar's and Adil El Arbi's Batgirl film, and Michael Korinsky's Scoob Holiday Haunt. Cancellations are unfortunately nothing new at Warner Bros. With David Zaslav as CEO. Mark Harrison, writing for Yahoo Movies, offers context on why films may be shelved at Warner Bros., elaborating on the shifting of executive power, as well as the possible decisions behind removing expensive productions from the studio's slate. When Batgirl was greenlit, executives Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff were in charge at Warner Media. Since then, Warner Media has undergone a merger with Discovery Incorporated, and as of April this year, incoming CEO David Zaslav has been changing the newly formed Warner Bros. Discovery's approach. Around the same time as Batgirl hit pause, Warner's also shelved Scoob Holiday Haunt. a $40 million sequel to the 2020 Scooby-Doo animated reboot, and conspicuously removed several other HBO Max original films from the streamer, leading some to speculate that Batgirl is being positioned as part of a large-scale tax write-off from the previous regime, rather than mere cost-cutting. Other rumours have suggested the film itself is poor, speculating that low test screening scores forced the studio to cancel the film. With a shifting of executive power towards David Zaslav, with a different set of intentions for Warner Bros., the shelving of the upper mid-budget animated movie Scoob Holiday Haunt, and the larger budget DC comic book movie Batgirl isn't necessarily going to cut spending for a company that has already used money to produce these movies, but the shelving of these productions can save on tax costs, further motivated if the films themselves were viewed as potential flops. David Zaslav's leadership decision feels even more controversial due to the decision to remove HBO Max films from the streaming service. Within the same article by Mark Harrison, he cites how the directors of Batgirl, Bilal Farah and Adil El Arbi, discovered the unfortunate news that their film had been shelved. The film's Belgian directors, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Farah, who were in Morocco celebrating El Arbi's wedding when they heard the news, also spoke out, admitting they were shocked. They posted a statement on Instagram saying that they wished fans could have had the opportunity to see and embrace the final film themselves. "We are saddened and shocked by the news," they said. "We still can't believe it. As directors, it is critical that our work be shown to audiences, and while the film was far from finished, we wish that fans all over the world could have had the opportunity to see and embrace the final film themselves." From their statement on Instagram, the disappointment from the directors of Batgirl is clear as day. Their efforts are raised from the public eye. This invites the question, do seemingly bad films or risky investments deserve to be deleted from existence? Chad Fitzgerald, an LA entertainment lawyer who has covered studio disputes in the past, discusses the legality of deleting a film in conversation with NPR's Joe Hernandez, stating that the studio owns the completed product and all the work that makes up the completed product, and they're free to do whatever they want with it. They're free to put it on 1 million screens worldwide. They're free to put it on a shelf in a closet and let it collect dust and forget about it. These films belong to Warner Bros. To do whatever they want with them. It's disheartening to hear, but this means that if Warner Bros. Believes a film should be scrapped despite being completed, then that's likely the film's fate. But do films that risk being unsuccessful deserve being deleted? If we answer that question with a yes, that suggests that we view cinema as nothing more than a product, that art should be inherently transactional. We can propose that filmmaking, or art in general, is often about taking risks, and that just because a film may not be successful at the box office, or successful critically, doesn't necessarily mean the film is without merit. John Carpenter's The Thing comes to mind. Loved by many, cemented as a cult classic of 80s horror, and arguably one of John Carpenter's greatest films, and yet during its theatrical release it was poorly received critically. Over the decades to come, the film has been reappraised, finding a dedicated audience that has made the film more profitable than ever before, from physical film sales, merchandising, and additional media such as video games and spin-offs. Even for films that aren't critically reappraised, such as Howard the Duck or the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film, these films continued to find a dedicated cult following, appreciating the clear creative efforts behind both films, or possibly finding ironic value in their absurdities. To watch a film and find it so bad it's good is just as valid as enjoying a film conventionally. Broadly speaking, blockbusters, as a cinematic art form, are still deserving of an audience. To serve for an audience that will find aspects to adore, appreciate, admire, or maybe even find titillation in their existence. Warner Bros. May legally have the right to delete Coyote vs. Acme, but ethically speaking, for the audience, for the filmmakers, for film preservation, art is and should remain for everybody. In conclusion, the fate of Coyote vs. Acme, as of recording this video, seems bleak. The backlash from a potential audience excited by the prospect of the film demonstrates an audience hungry for a smart meta-comedy with iconic Looney Tunes characters, although this action might not necessarily transform into the ticket sales or streaming subscription numbers that executives seek. While the contentious reaction to the shelving of this film is understandable, the prospect of the film ever seeing the light of day feels unlikely when considering CEO David Zaslav's own words. We have done a reset. We believe we can build a much more sustainable business. Maybe Coyote vs Acme was a risky investment to begin with. Films that mesh live action with animation are not always blockbuster hits, but when the efforts of filmmakers are being erased with the production shelving, or even the deletion of the film, it makes the lack of the film's release feel all the more sour, as if to amplify audience curiosity for a film they're not able to see. Maybe the film will be deleted, no longer to exist, or maybe it could be placed within Warner Bros.' archive for a later date. That may be optimistic, maybe unrealistic, but at this stage, this may be the only hope audiences have. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporter Gil, and my super tier Patreon supporters Constantine Bombelli, Jamie, and Milkway.